Hey, if you're new to my channel, then consider liking and subscribing. It would really mean a lot to me, and honestly, it'd make my day. If you already did, thank you so much. Oh, and by the way, if you like listening to fan fiction, check out my other channel. The link's in the description.
The Try Fruit by Angeal666. What if Luffy didn't eat the gum fruit? What if he ate a mythical devil fruit said to be a legend? One of 3 ancient fruits and the only one that can awaken all 3 types of devil fruit. Its true power? Only 2 beings can unlock it. A human with an unbreakable will, and a royal mermaid born once every few centuries. Luffy's destiny just changed, now tied to ancient secrets, legendary power, and a fate that draws powerful women from across the seas to his side. And before we start, a massive shout out to the warlords of this channel: Case Clark, Leaf5_SCXR, Tristan Ward. You 3 are the backbone of this community. Your support means the world. Seriously, thank you for standing with me. If you want to join the ranks of these legends, hit that join button and become a channel member today. Let's grow this thing together. Much love, and as always, adios.
In a world that is divided into 4 oceans, you have the North Blue, the East Blue, the South Blue, then the West Blue, and our story takes us to an island that is located in the East Blue, and the island is called Dawn Island, and in a cozy little village we find a bar that is kinda rowdy with a 7-year-old in the middle of it all when sudden the door was kicked in and a tall man walks in and said, "Excuse us," then after looking around he said, "So this is what passes as pirates around here, what a sorry bunch." Then as he gets to the bar, disturbing a red-haired man who was eating. A young green-haired girl walks over and said, "Hello, how can I help you?" The lead man said, "We are bandits from the mountain, we didn't come here to wreck the place, we came here for some sake, I think 10 barrels would do the trick." "Oh, I am sorry, but we just run out of sake," replied the green-haired girl. "Is that so? Well, it would appears that these pirates seem to be drinking, and I don't think it is water," the bandit said. Getting a little scared of what might happen. "Well, you see, sir, they have had the last of the sake I had left in stoke." The red-haired man that was eating looks up and said, "What is that true, Makino?" Then he turns to the bandits and said, "Well, sorry fella, me and my friends didn't notice that we drank the place dry." Then he handed the leader an unopened bottle of sake and said, "Here, you can have this if you want, it's not even opened." The man took the bottle, but then he smashed it over the man and said, "I am a wanted man with a bounty of 8 million berries, so 1 bottle is good enough for a nightcap, otherwise I might take it as an insult." Then man said, "Well, now that's just great, the floor is all wet," and as she picks up the broken glass bottle with Luffy helping, he said, "Sorry Makino, do you mind getting up a couple cloths to clean this up?" Makino, who was looking over her bar, quickly runs round while saying, "Oh, you 2 don't have to worry about that." As Makino run round, the wanted man brought out his sword, then swung it, destroying a couple of glasses and bottles and leaving a large, then said, "If you like cleaning that much, then you will have fun cleaning up that mess." Then as he and his group was walking out, he said, "Any place that doesn't have sake doesn't deserve our time." When the bandit group left, pirates started to laugh, and Luffy looks at the man on the floor and said, "Hey Shanks, why didn't you fight back when he smashed the bottle over you? Aren't you supposed to be pirates?" Shanks looks up at Luffy and said, "It wasn't worth it, after all it's just liquid, plus if we did fight then you precious Makino's bar would get ruined, and you wouldn't want that, do you?" Makino slaps Shanks and said, "Don't you encourage him." "Oh, you're right, I didn't think of that," Luffy said. Then he went over to his stool and sat down, then he saw a weird look fruit in his stomach, gave a low growl, and so he ate the fruit. As Shanks was cleaning up the mess, he heard munching. He looks over to Luffy and sees him munching on a fruit, then said, "There is no need to eat in frustration, Luffy." Luffy momentarily stopped eating the fruit to say, I'm just hungry." "Oh good," Shanks said, then went back to cleaning the mess, but before he started, he realized something and looked toward the kid with a shocked look, then went over to him and said, "Luffy, please tell me you didn't eat the fruit that was in that box." Luffy's eyes start to look elsewhere as he said, "No, I didn't." Shanks then holds him upside down, shaking him while saying, "Spit it out." Luffy spitted out every last bit of the devil fruit. While Shanks was shaking Luffy, the boy said, "Hey, why are you shaking me?" but before anyone could answer, Luffy's face hit the wooden floor, shocking not only him but everyone in the bar. When his body was back to normal after the eating a devil fruit, he said, Shanks, what just happened? That's what I would like to know, Luffy, as you just ate a zone-type devil fruit, not the gum fruit, which is a paramecia type, Shanks said, then goes and sits down at the bar to think. While Shanks was thinking of what was happening, a blonde guy who was wearing a bandana with Usopp walks over and said, Hey Captain, we all know there is a myth about 4 fruits and 3 of them have the same name. Upon hearing that, Shanks realized that the 4 mythical fruit was the only possibility, said, You're right Usopp, but they was thought to be a myth, even more so than the mythical zone type, or a lot of people thought they didn't exist. Makino walks over and said, What's so bad about these devil fruits? Shanks looks at Makino and said, Well, to simple put, a devil fruit is a fruit that will give its eater powers. But it comes at a price, as they will never be able to swim ever again, and you can only eat one. Makino hands went up to her mouth as she gasps, then after a few moments said, What was Usopp talking about? Well, you see, there is a rumor that has been going on for a long time now, saying that there are 4 fruits out and 3 of them hold 2 of the 3 types, Shanks said. Makino, not knowing much about devil fruits, said, What do you mean by types? Shanks was confused with Makino's question but quickly realized that she might not know anything about the DF, said, You see, there are 3 types to the fruits. The first is the paramecia type, which affects your body slightly like turning you into a rubber after eating the gum fruit. Then you have the zone, which turns you into an animal man, and the last one is the logia type, and that turns you into an elemental man. When Shanks had finished, Makino understood what he meant and said, Now I get it, so 3 of his duo fruit, 1 fruit will give the eater a paramecia type and a logia type, another one will give the eater a paramecia type and a zone type, last one will give the eater a logia type and a zone type. That's right Makino, and that's the name of the 3 fruits, as their powers can vary from person to person, so I am sure you can guess what the last one is and can do, Shanks said. Yes, give the eater all 3 types. So which one did he eat, one of the duos or the tri-fruit? Makino said. Before Shanks could answer, Luffy shouted, Cool, so you mean to say is that I have 2 or 3 powers? Yes, Luffy, you might, Shanks said, then turned to Makino and said, Sorry, but I can't tell you, as I said, we thought it was just a planned zone type, but now he could have eaten any one of the 4. I see, thanks Shanks, Makino said. When it sank in that he might have multiple powers, Luffy said, Cool, and once I am strong enough, I am going to ask Makino to be one of my brides, and this set everyone laughing. After a couple of minutes, the laughter died down. Shanks turned to Luffy and said, Hey Luffy, can you answer something for me? Luffy looks at the pirate and said, Sure, why is it when you ask Makino to marry you, why does it sound like you're going to marry multiple women? Luffy thought for about a minute or so, then said, I don't know why, it just feels right when I say it like that. Chuckling a little, Makino said, Don't worry about it Shanks, he has always sounded like that, even said I will be the first he marries, and he never understood it then ever. So, Makino, what do you plan to do? Shanks asked. Well, I made him a deal saying that if he still want Tome to be the first he marries when he is older, then I will, Makino said. And what if he plans to travel, like becoming a pirate or a marine? Shanks said. Then I will join him and become a part of his crew, Makino said. Then they went on with their day. When Luffy went to the bar the next day, he found it a mess and there was no sign of Makino, and went to look for her. After looking for a half an hour, he found a couple of bandits that came into the bar yesterday, and one said with a nasty look on his face, Do you think the boss will let us have some fun with that green-haired girl from that bar we raided? Well, I certainly HTY, said another, and then laughed, completely unaware they're being followed by a 7-year-old. After a while they went to the port and Luffy saw the bandits had a lot of boxes and was moving them onto a ship, and so Luffy went to look for Makino. After not finding her on the docks, he managed to sneak onto the ship, and after looking for a while the boat has left the port and was quite far when he found Makino and she in a brig, and what he saw made him mad, as most of Makino's clothing was torn, and it was that bad that he could see her bra and panties, and he was about to call her when the bandit leader came over and talked to her. Have you calmed down yet? Makino gave him a look that would make a normal man piss themselves and said, What do you think? You kidnapped me, tore my clothing and throw me in here so I can be what to you? The man gains a nasty look, bent ass over and said, I am sure you can think of what we have planned for you, and Makino gains a look of horror, and then man said, Now that a nice look before we start now, I am wondering what will be your expression will be when we break you, and Makino gains a terrified look. When Luffy saw the look on Makino's face he began to growl, which alerted everyone there, and they Luffy on all fours gaining blue fur and 9 tails. When the transformation was complete he was a 9-tailed fox with a white mane and around his paws, and at the tips of each tail was on fire, and he had a yin-yang symbol on him. Look at cover image just without the ribbon. Then the man said, "Well now it the cleaning brat from yesterday, why are you here, come to forfeit your life?" But all he got in response was a threatening growl, and the man turned to his men said, "Well, what are you waiting for, go get that brat." Makino quickly shouted, "Run Luffy, don't worry about me, just get out of here." Luffy didn't hear Makino but what he did do was lower his head and his 9 tails went straight, then the flames grew bigger. And he shot fireballs at the bandits causing them to be set on fire, and they all run out to get water, and by doing that they set the boat on fire that was hot to all but him and Makino, and he calmed down a bit, well just enough to think rashly. The head bandit said, "Fuck this shit." Then he threw a few bombs on making a smokescreen. When the smokescreen cleared both the bandit and Makino was gone, so Luffy quickly run up to the deck, then he looks round, then he saw Makino and the man on a small boat heading away from the island, so Luffy decides to try and jump and just manages to grab onto the side, but with the sudden weight the small boat capsized causing all three to go into the ocean. Makino quickly see Luffy drowning and changing back into a human, she rushes to get him, and when she comes back up with him she could hear Luffy say, "Must save Makino," over and over. Makino smiles at this and said, "I have you now Luffy, now let's head back to the island." After a little while of swimming and Makino was getting tired, "Damn it, I don't think I can keep this up, but I must." As Makino kept on swimming, she was unaware of a large shadow going under her, then she heard, "I can help you with that my lord." Makino stopped swimming and looked around to see who just spoke but couldn't see anything, then said to herself, "You must be going crazy Makino," then went back to swimming, but just then a large brown eel with red eyes shocking Makino said, "Lord of the coast, this is bad, we are dead." When eel see Makino panicking he said, "I know you can't understand me, but I mean you no harm, I am here to fulfill the Lord's wish to help him and the one called Makino," shocking Makino, and when the eel sees the shocked look that the girl had he said, "Can you understand me? Nod if you can please, but don't talk, as I can't understand your talk," and when Makino nodded, he said, "Now isn't that interesting, I can tell you are not the princess, as she is always reborn as a royal mermaid of the Ryugu kingdom, so that must mean you have the skill we sea king like to call ears of sand, which lets the skill bearer hear creatures that can't be normally be understood. Also are you the one called Makino?" And Makino nodded, he said, "Good, please point the way to your island," and when Makino did, he went under the water and lifted both her and Luffy. And while heading back to the Dawn Island, the Sea King explained, said, "Makino, you have to listen very carefully, because at some point during that boy's 16th year he will gain the ability to speak and understand as Sea King, as he is the reincarnated king known as Joy Boy, just like the current mermaid princess is the reincarnation of Poseidon, so it is important that nobody finds out until he is ready for the world to know, and they have both met except the people you trust, and I must say that he will need multiple mates." Shocked by this news she said, "So that why he said that it feels right when he said one of her the first." Then she looks down at Luffy with a soft smile and gently stroked his hair. When they got to the island, Makino sees the mayor, Shanks, and his drew at the docks. The red-headed pirates was getting ready to attack the Sea King, but and before they could she quickly stands up on the king's head and shouted, "Shanks, stand down or I will not serve you in my bar for the rest of your stay here," shocking everyone that Makino was on top of the Sea King's head. Seeing no other option, Shanks said, "Well, you heard her crew, either we put our guns away or not get served." Then he puts his gun away and soon his crew did the same. Then he said, "Also close your eyes," as Makino has barely any clothes on, and the Sea King gently lowered its head to the earth, and when it did, Shanks, who had his eyes closed, went up to it quickly but ready to attack to get Luffy and Makino passed Luffy to Shanks, who then passed him to his first mate, then went back to get Makino, and when she was on the ground he give her his coat to cover herself, and the Sea King retreats. Makino took the coat and said, "Thanks Shanks." Shanks opened his eye and said, "Not a problem Makino, so what happened and why did that Sea King give you a ride back?" Could you and the mayor meet at my bar in about an hour? I need to dry myself and get new clothes, and so does Luffy, Makino said. You're right, Makino, Shanks said. Then they went on their merry way, and after the hour Luffy, Makino, Shanks and the mayor was at the bar, and Shanks said, "Okay Makino, what happened?" Makino took a deep breath, told them what happened and described Luffy's Kyuubi's form and told them where they are located. Then Shanks said, "Well, that explains the symbols suddenly appearing at that location. I had heard that some people gains one thing from their animal from, like, if an animal ate the human fruit and their human form will have fur." Then Makino continued her story, including what the Sea King said, and the mayor said, "Makino, how is it that you could understand the beast?" Well, the Sea King said that as I wasn't one of the two rulers, I have a skill he called the Ears of Sand, an ability that allows humans understand them and vice versa, Makino replied. Shanks, who was laughing, stood up and walks over to Luffy and said, "You hear that, Luffy? You're going to be a ruler as you get older and have multiple wife. Life, you said," and as he went to pat him on the back. But his hand went through him, shocked by what happened. The red-haired pirate hit the table and yelped in pain. Then said, "Well, I guess we know the mythical try fruit exists, so maybe the three duo can." Then looked at Luffy and saw black vapors coming off Luffy, then said, "So he is a rubber, a fox man and a darkness man. Not that one combo I don't want to face, plus the fact that he can spec to Sea Kings at some point when he is 16. Then he looks over to Makino and Luffy and said, "But you don't need to worry, as I wouldn't tell anyone about Luddy being Sea King royalty or that he has eaten the try fruit." "Same here, Makino," said the mayor. "Thank you, both of you," Makino said. Then she looks around her bar, as I need to tidy up this place. Luffy looks at Makino and said, "Well, you can count on me to help you, Makino." Makino goes up to Luffy and hugs him and said, "Thank you, Luffy, for what you did today and for the help." "No problem, Makino, and maybe I can practice with my powers," Luffy said. The mayor stands up and said, "Well, in that case I better get going and do my mayor duty." Shanks then said, "Me and my crew will help you out, Makino." Later that day, when Makino was home alone, she goes into one of her cupboards and pulls out a violet, spherical-shaped fruit with a stem sprouting out of the top, with swirls that go in a curly S-like pattern. Its overall appearance greatly resembles a Yubari. King says to herself, "So I wonder what kind of devil fruit you are, and is it worth losing the ability to swim?" Then she places it back. It has been a week since Luffy ate the try fruit, has a little control over his powers, and right now at the docks with Makino and Shanks, and just made his declaration of becoming king of the pirates. And Shanks places his straw hat on Luffy and said, "Then I will leave this hat to you, so take care of it, okay? And also remember this, all the best pirates have territories, so build your own." "You got it, Shanks, and once I am king, I will return your hat. Then I am going to make Makino my first queen," Luffy said. As Shanks was walking to his ship, the thought, "Well, if that Sea King said is true, that some humans can understand them with this skill, Ears of Sand, then my old Captain Roger might not be crazy after all, and that Luffy, this mermaid princess, the two rulers that he said, then Luffy is destined to be a king, but it doesn't say which king. That all folks with Luffy's power with the Paramecia Type 1 can't see him having any other Paramecia powers. With the Zone 8 Kitsune is one of my favorite animals, and with the Logia don't know why. Luffy's harem, the two obvious one are Makino and Shirahoshi. Other members: Robin, Rebecca, Vivi, Hancock, Marguerite, Shirley. Please leave suggestion other pairing: Zoro, Tashigi, Usopp, Kaya, Sanji, Nami, Chopper, Frankie, Brook, Nun, Jinbei. Please leave suggestion also, do you think Makino should the gum fruit? I forgot to mention this, but Luffy's hair has changed color to the fur of the Digimon on pic. Now let's start the show. It has 3 years since Luffy had eat the try fruit, is training with his powers, and right now is currently running through a forest with another kid that is a couple years older than him. When Luffy suddenly stopped and looked around, the other boy noticed this and stopped as well and said, "Luffy, what's wrong?" Luffy turns to the boy and said, "It's nothing, Ace thought I heard something, so let's continue." As the two boys was about to continue with whatever it was they was doing, Luffy heard a feminine voice say in a pained tone, "Please someone help me." Luffy looks at Ace and said, "Okay, that time I heard something, and it was asking for help, and she sounds hurt." Ace looks at Luffy and says, "Are you? 'Cause I heard nothing." Luffy said nothing and went to look for whoever's in trouble, and after a little while of searching Ace found what Luffy might have heard and said, "Over here Luffy, I think I might found what you was looking for," and Luffy came over and saw a fox white as snow and was covered with blood. The fox weakly opened its eyes and in the same voice that Luffy heard said, "Who are you?" "Someone to help you I think," Luffy replied as he gently picked her up. Ace looks at Luffy confused and asked him, Luffy, who are you talking to?" Luffy turns to Ace, points to the fox and said, "Her after all she was speaking." "No, she wasn't Luffy, all I heard was yipping like a fox does," Ace said while looking at the fox. Before turning his attention to Luffy he asked, "So what are you going to do with her?" "The only thing I can do go to my village and ask Makino for help," Luffy said as he turned into his hybrid form, then gently placed her in his tail's full kitsune, then quickly run off to see Makino and get her help. Ace looks in the direction that Luffy went and with a sigh he said to himself, "Guess I better tell Dayton that Luffy won't be around for a few days," then headed up the mountains. When Luffy got to his village he turned into his hybrid form, then took the fox in hand, the full human, then headed to Makino's bar. When she looked up from cleaning a table and saw Luffy and somehow missed the injured fox, said, "Hey Luffy, what brings you here?" "Well, I was in the forest with Ace when I heard this female voice asking for help, and so we looked. And Ace found this fox who spoke to me, though Ace thinks I made it up," Luffy said. Finally noticing the bloody white fox, she said, "Oh my god, come in and head upstairs, then place her on the table and I will take a look, and if it not serious I might be able to pack her up." And Luffy did as Makino asked while she got a bowl of water and a cloth once. Then Luffy went to the sofa while Makino cleaned and looked the fox over, then sighed in relief, then said, "Well Luffy, these wounds aren't too serious so I can patch her up." And so she did, and once she was done she said, "There you go fox, all patched up." When Luffy heard that Makino was done he headed over and said, "So what do we do about her?" Makino looked at Luffy and said, "Well first we are going to let her rest, then you are going to ask her what she want to do." "What do you mean?" Luffy asked. "What I mean is you said that you can talk and understand her, right?" Makino said. "What, you believe me, but Ace didn't," Luffy said. "Well, I see no reason you to lie to me about this, and then there is your devil fruit, as Shanks said that not much is known about, then so who to say that zone types can't speak and understand their animal types?" Makino said. "What does that mean?" Luffy asked, all confused. "What I mean Luffy is if someone ate a bird type then they might understand bird," Makino said, then point to the fox that is on the table and said, "Or in your case foxes." "So, what you mean is that the reason I could understand is because of my zone power as it's a fox?" Luffy asked. "That's exactly what I am saying Luffy," Makino said. Then she went and got some food and water for the fox, then went to finish closing the bar. After an hour then Fox came to look around and saw two bowls, one of water and the other had food, and then continued to look around and was the boy that saved her asleep. So she gets up and has a drink, and as she gets up, she is drinking, she heard, "Oh, you're awake." Not expecting this caused the fox to jump and looks to where the voice came from to see the boy awake, and she said, "Where am I?" "You are at someone I care very much about, and she took care of you," Luffy replied. The fox was shocked by the reply, said, "Wait, you can understand me?" "To tell you I am not quite sure about that either, but Makino, the girl that took care of you when I brought you here, said that it might because of the zone of my devil fruit and zone power in general that you can understand that type of animal as I a foxman. I can understand all foxes," Luffy replied. "Really?" said the fox, and when Luffy nodded she asked, "Mind if I see you fox form?" "I don't mind," Luffy said, then transformed into his fox form, and as he does the fox is shocked to the kind boy that turned into a blue nine-tailed fox. Luffy was about to say something when the door opened and Makino walks in, and the fox was about to panic when Luffy turned back into a human, then run over and tackled her into a hug, said, "Makino, the fox is awake." Makino looks over to see the fox sitting down, then turns back to Luffy and said, "Now let's see how her injuries." Then she carefully took the bandages of and said, "Well, good news, she didn't reopen her wounds, but she will need to stay here for about a week." Before Luffy could tell here, the fox said, "I know what she said, what is your name anyway?" Releasing that they haven't introduced themselves, Luffy said, "Oh right, my name is Monkey D. Luffy. But you can call me Luffy, and the female that changed your bandages is Makino." "Well, it's nice you meet you Luffy, and you to Makino, my name is Yuki," said Yuki. "Yuki, that a nice name is it because your fur is snow white?" Luffy asked. Partly, and I was born when there was a snowstorm going on outside my parents' den, Yuki said. Then a thought came to mind, then said, "Hey Luffy, mind telling Makino that I said thank you for patching me up?" And Luffy nodded. A week has passed since Luffy and Ace found the fox and learned that she was pouched when she was ready to leave and make her own den, and she managed to get out of the cage then jump overboard when the ship passed the island, and she is from an island that is always winter, had a cruel king and had 2 wacky but excellent doctors. She is now fully healed, and right now Luffy is taking Yuki to a nice little spot, and when he got there, he placed the fox on the ground. Yuki looks around then at Luffy and with a little bit of hesitation asked, Luffy, if it's not too much of a bother, can I stay with you?" Luffy tilts his head and asked, "Why?" "Well, it's just that you and Makino have been so kind to me and looked after me, and I have no other place to go. Then there is also the fact that you are a 9-tailed fox, and being in one's company is virtually every fox's dream," Yuki said. "Okay, but you should know that when I turn 17, I am going out into the wood, become the king of pirates, and if Makino want to, she will be coming as well. Now come on, I want to introduce you to a few people," Luffy said, then head up the mountain. "That's fine Luffy, but can I ask you a few questions?" Yuki asked. "Sure, ask away. My first question is, if I join your pirate crew, do you think I might see my family again?" Yuki asked. Luffy looks down to the fox and sees she has a sad look on her face, then said, "I am not completely sure of that, but wouldn't that be worth going?" "You're right Luffy, if I don't go then, I will never see them, and I do go I might see them, which is better," Yuki said after seeing what Luffy was trying to say, then said, "Okay, my next question, where are we going?" "I already said to introduce you some friends that live up in the mountains," Luffy said. Yuki asked, "Mountain bandits?" Luffy said, shocking Yuki as Luffy told her about what happened 3 years ago. "But I thought you hated Mountain Bandit after what happened 3 years ago," Yuki asked. "I do, but even though Dayton is a mountain bandit, she has become like a mother figure to me," Luffy replied in a sad tone. Yuki noticed the tone, said, "May I ask what happened?" And then Luffy began to tell the fox what happened when he first met Dayton, how she cared for him and Ace, and how she came over to defend them from a pirate named Blue Jam. After a while, the duo made it to Dayton's hideout, and the big curly-haired woman acted like she didn't miss them but was happy, then went a gushy over the white-furred fox. 3 weeks later, we find the fox hunting for her meal when she came across a weird-looking fungus covered with curly S-shapes all over it, wondering what it tasted like. She took a bit out of it. Once she did, she regretted it as it tasted nasty, so she decided to head to the spring to wash the taste away, and as she was walking away, the fungus turned back to normal. Later that day, Yuki was with Luffy eating with the Dayton family when Ace came over and said, "Hey Luffy, how was your and Yuki's day?" Before Luffy could answer, Yuki said in human tongue without realizing, "I had a good day apart from that nasty tasting fungus." Then the whole room fell quiet, and everyone looked at the fox. When Yuki notices the attention, she said, "What, do I have something on my fur?" Then looks at Luffy, who had the same surprised look on his face. She said, "What is going on here?" When Luffy snapped out of the shock, said, "Yuki, you are speaking human." Yuki looks over to Luffy and asked, "I am," and when everyone nodded, she said, "Sweet, now I can speak to you lot without having to rely on Luffy to translate," causing everyone to laugh. Then Ace went to stroke her, but his hand went through her, and her body looked like snow. Luffy knew right away when Yuki's body turned to snow that she must have one of the 3 duo fruit, the zone logia one. Then the next day he took Yuki to see Makino, who was shocked that there was a duo fruit in the jungle. Then for the rest of the day Luffy spent with Yuki, helping her adjust to walking on 2 legs. It has been 7 years since Luffy found Yuki, who later ate a duo fruit, and they had mastered their power, all the while Makino was getting more and more tempted to eat the one she has stashed away. Luffy has learned that with his darkness power he has a little power over gravity and can store things inside a black hole, and also has the ability to cancel out other devil fruits, and that he can choose whether to be hit, which doesn't hurt thanks to being rubber, or let it phase though him. Down at the dock was 3 people, Luffy, Makino and Yuki in her human form, and not too far away there was 2 groups. One was the town's villagers and the other the mountain bandits that looked after Ace and Luffy. Luffy looked at Makino and said, "Are you sure you want to come with us, Makino? After all, what about your bar?" "You don't have to worry about that, Luffy. After all, I called in a favor from your grandfather, and I can say that it's in worthy hands," Makino said, then looks over to Dayton and said, "Isn't that right, Dayton?" Yes, Garp came to see me and said that if I looked after Makino's bar then he will try and remove my bounty, and after look after you Ace and Yuki I think it's time to change lifestyles, and everyone agreed with me, Deiden said. Luffy, who was touched by what Deiden was doing, walked up to her and said, I may hate bandits but you're different and thanks for everything. I know why you hate me when Garp dropped you off cause Yuki told me everything from that a man was about to do to Makino and that you thought I was after I fought Blue Jam. And I can say I was touched that you thought I was like a mother to you, Deiden said, and was almost brought to tears when Luffy hugged her, then when run over to the boat with Makino and Yuki following behind. Once on the boat Luffy said, alright crew, let's set sail, and in no time they left the island and began their adventure. When the boat was a far distance away Luffy summoned the Sea King that was near the island, who said, what can I do for you Luffy? I need you to look after the island while I'm gone, Luffy said. Consider it protected, the Sea King said before going back down. After a few days, the crew had hit some rocky waves and Luffy had somehow fell into a barrel, then the lid landed in it and Makino sealed it shut, then the barrel went overboard. The next day when the waves calmed down Makino and Yuki looked and was beginning to worry about Luffy since he wasn't anywhere to be found, but also knew that he can take care of himself and that they will meet up sooner or later. Meanwhile, with he was asleep and the barrel was hauled onto a cruise ship that was currently being raided by pirates. When he woke up he smashed the lid and unknowingly knocked someone out while saying, what a great nap, then noticed the man he had knocked out and said while getting out of the barrel, who are you and where is Makino and Yuki? Also your friends might get sick sleeping like that. Ignoring the two men who was shouting, Luffy went over to a boy that was about his age and said, do you have any food cause I am starving? One of the men that Luffy was ignoring said, now what do you think you're doing? You aren't supposed to ignore us as we are ruthless pirates. Then he and his friend went to attack Luffy, and as Luffy noticed the two men coming at him with sword drowned, so he broke the sword. Luffy, not happy about being attacked like that, asked, what is wrong with you two? What did I do to deserve that? One of the men said, just who in the world are you? Luffy simply said, I am Monkey D. Luffy. Then the two men grabbed their passed out friend and run out the kitchen like a bat out of hell. The boy that was on his hand and knees then began to panic. They said, quick, you have to run. The two that run will came back here but with some of their buddies and they will kill you. Luffy looks at the teen and said, well, they can try, I'm not worried, but my two girl mates might be as I am not on the boat. Then he shrugged and said, all well, I'm sure I will find them sooner or later. This caused the boy to panic even more and said, what do you mean you're not worried about them? There are at least 100 of them on this ship waiting for an opportunity to kill anything. Luffy, who was ignoring the boy, headed for the pantry. When the boy noticed Luffy was in the pantry mumbling while heading into the once he was in there, he turned to Luffy, who was munching on some apples, and said, well, I suppose I should introduce, well, I'm Koby and it's Luffy, right? Luffy stopped eating and looks over to Koby and asked, so is this a pirate ship or what? No, it's a cruise ship that's being raided by the Alvida pirates. Lead my Alvida, Koby said. Don't really care what kind of ship it is, I just want to know if there is any boat on board. I kind of went overboard last night in the rough sea, Luffy said, then asked, so what about you? Are you a pirate or a passenger? That's complicated, Koby said, then went on to tell how he got to where he is now and that he couldn't leave, and by the end of it Luffy was laughing. When Luffy stopped laughing he said, you're a moron and a coward, man, do I hate people like you. With a somber voice Koby said, as much as I hate to admit it, you're right. If I had your courage I might have drifted around in a barrel and be done with pirate and try and live my own dream. And what's that? Luffy asked. I want to be a marine. So you think I can do it? Koby said. Luffy looks at Koby and said, maybe, but the question is, do you have what it takes, and which side will you be on? Koby looked confused, then asked, what do you mean, what side will I be on? Luffy points to one of the yin-yang symbols on his shoulder and said, you see this symbol? Koby nods and said, yes, but what does it mean? Luffy said, it mean balance with good with light. There must be darkness, but if look inside both side you will see small circles. Now what they mean is that bad people will look like the good people and there will good people that will look like bad people, understand? I think so, Koby said, understanding a little of it, then said, how do I know which side I'm on? Simple, just keep why you want to join them, pure like to catch wanted pirates and bandits and not for power. So, you know my dream, so what about your dream? Koby said. Oh, that easy, I going to become king of the pirates, Luffy said, shocking Koby once more. The king? Koby asked. Yep, Luffy replied. you're serious? Koby asked. Yep, after all according to some Sea Kings one of the rulers, Luffy answered. Missing the Sea King part, Koby asked, what about your crew? Just 2 females right now and they are out there most likely looing for me, Luffy said, knowing they will meet up again. And that would mean that you're a pirate, Koby said. Sure am, Luffy said. All of a sudden Koby stands up and said, that title is only given to those that has obtained everything that the wood has to offer: wealth, fame and power. So you are looking for the legendary treasure known as One Piece. But a lot of pirates are looking for that treasure. Yes, but I have good reason that I will become king as I've been told, Luffy said. After hearing that, Koby said in a non-believing tone, really, and who told you that? Luffy said 2 words that almost gave Koby a heart attack, Sea Kings plus I decides long ago that I will become king of the pirates, and if I have to die trying I die, and nobody can't say I didn't try. Before anyone could say anything the roof broke and then a voice said, what was that? Don't make laugh, there is no way you will claim it, then turned to Koby and said, Koby, who is the most beautiful woman on the sea? Before Koby could answer, Luffy said, well, I can name you 2, one is Makino, and the other is Yuki. Everyone that was in earshot had dropped their jaws, and one of the pirates that was on deck said, that not good. As Alvida swing her club down, she tells, you fucking bastard. Luffy jumps out of the way, grabs Koby, then jumps onto the deck after making quick work of the pirate on the deck, which ended shocking everyone when Luffy run past a mast, then grab it stretching his arm, then he said, gum gum rocket. Then he goes flying back, knocking everyone over. Alvida walks up and said, you have eaten the devil fruit. Luffy stood tall and said with pride, sure did, not telling you which one though. And here I thought they was a legend of them, but you are the first person I have seen that has them, Alvida said, then goes on to say, I must say you have some skill, more so than the average deck swabber, so I have so ask. Go on, Luffy said, are you a bounty hunter? Alvida asked. Nope, a pirate, Luffy replied, a pirate won these waters, so what about your crew? Alvida asked. Well, at the moment there is only 3 of us, but hey, just started out, Luffy said in a nonchalant way. So, boy, you and I are both pirates and not under the same flag, doesn't that make us enemies? Alvida asked. Koby, who is by Luffy, whispers before Luffy could answer, hey Luffy, let's get out of here. Luffy, who is looking at Alvida, said, I don't know, does it? Then he turns to Koby and said, why do we have to? Koby begins try and persuade Luffy to run, but was cut off as he remembered what Luffy told him about his dream, then looks at Alvida and said, you are the most ugliest this in the world, and I am going to leave and join the Marines, and when I am able to I will be hunting pirate you your ugly ass down. Alvida, who is pissed beyond belief, raised her club and as he brings it down said, you are so fucking dead. Luffy steps in the way and when the club hit him he just grins and said, that doesn't work on me, I am made of rubber. Then he bring up an arm, knocking the club out of Alvida's hands, stretching the arm, then as he bring it back to attack he said, gum gum pistol. And when the punch connected to the giant woman it sent her flying, then he turned to the rest of the Alvida pirates and said, you lot go and find Koby a ship, he is leaving right now. Scared of what Luffy will do, they said, yes sir, then scampered away to find a boat, then all of a sudden cannonballs starting to rain down as marine ships showed up, but Koby didn't want to go as they might mistake him as a pirate. Luffy sees a boat, then he grabbed Koby and runs to it as he sends a small flame at the rope, burning the rope and dropping the boat to the sea, and as it hit the water Luffy hears a scream and saw a girl with orange hair and big brown eyes and smiles at her, then 2 boats headed out on the separate ways and somehow escaping the Marines as Luffy and Koby sailed. Luffy turned to Koby and said, so Koby, do you know where we are heading? Well, I am no navigator, but I would say we are heading to Yotsuba Island tomorrow or the day after, and rumor has it that the famous pirate hunter Roronoa Zoro is being held, Koby replied. This Zoro guy, what's he like? Luffy asked. Unfortunately, I never met the guy, but from the rumors I've heard he is as violent as a demon and 3 times horrifying, Koby said, then asked, why do you want to know about Zoro? Luffy gave Koby a big toothy smile and said, isn't it obvious I am going to need a skilled crew for where I'm going? Oh, that's right, you're going to after the elusive treasure One Piece, Koby said in realization, then went on to say, and for that you need to head to the Grand Line, which is also known as the Pirate Graveyard. That's right, hence why I need a crew that's good at what they do, Luffy said. The duo fell into a comfortable silence and after a while Koby asked, hey Luffy. Luffy looks at Koby and said, yes, you mentioned you have 2 other crew members, what are they like? Well, first you have Makino, she is sweet, caring, and has always supported my becoming the Pirate King and had agreed to become one of my wives when I do accomplish it, Luffy said, then talked about Yuki. Then there is Yuki, she is rough around the edges, but once she gets to know you then you have a great ally or friend depending. Wait, you said one of your wives, don't you mean become your wife, Koby said. No, even as a kid I have always said one of like I am going to have more than one lover, and a Sea King told Makino that I am a reincarnation of a sea ruler known as Joy Boy and that I am to have multiple mates, Luffy said. Looking at Luffy like he has gone mad, Koby said, but the Sea King are monsters, no one can control them. That's not entirely true because there are only 2 people that can, one is a mermaid princess who is the reincarnation of Neptune and the other one is the reincarnation to Joy Boy. But a small number of people can understand them cause they have something that the Sea Kings call the ears of sand, and Makino has this gift, Luffy said. That sound like a good story on how she found out she has that gift, Koby said, then asked, mind if I hear it? Not at all, Luffy said, then started the story. It was the day after I ate my devil fruit I got into a mess with some mountain bandits as they had kidnapped Makino and was about to do something that no female should go through. Then I unlocked another part of my devil fruit, then in a haze I burnt their ship, but the leader got away with Makino, so I went after them. They was in a small boat not far from the ship, so I jumped and I landed on the boat, but unfortunately the sudden extra weight caused the boat to capsized, and as you know I couldn't swim, so Makino grabbed me and started to swim to shore, all the while I was saying gotta save Makino, but unfortunately we was too far from shore and Makino couldn't swim. Then I must have tapped into the dormant power to summon and communicate with the Sea Kings, and the Sea King that has made our island home told Makino that she had the ears of sand and who I was, then the Sea King took us home. Wow, that's some story, Luffy, Koby said, then began to chat about all kinds of stuff, and when it got late, they went to sleep. It was about midday the following day when Luffy and Koby saw Yotsuba Island, and it took them another hour to dock the boat. Then they began to walk around, and Koby was saying, are you sure you want this guy to be a part of your crew, Luffy? Haven't really decided that much yet, after all I haven't really met the guy yet and I need to know what kind of guy Zoro is, Luffy replied, but also caused all the residents in the area to freak out upon hearing Zoro's name. Looking around at the residents, Koby pulls Luffy close and whispers, it might be a good idea if we don't mention Zoro. Not really caring, Luffy said, yeah whatever, then starts to walk towards the marine base and said, well let's head to the base and get you signed up, after all you want to be a marine, don't you? Well yeah, but maybe I should wait as I don't think I am ready just yet, Koby said, then went on to say thing about the man in charge. And from what I hear the man in charge is Captain Axe-Hand Morgan. Which caused the people in earshot to freak out again. Walking away, Luffy was laughing while saying, man, this place a riot. Koby catches up to Luffy and said, that's strange, I can understand freaking out about Zoro, but why flip out when I mentioned the captain? Maybe he is the black dot on the white side, Luffy said. Koby looks up at Luffy and said, what are you on about? I told you yesterday, remember when you told me about your dream, Luffy said. As Koby remembers what Luffy said the days before they come up upon the gates of the inn, when then pink-haired boy realized where they were. He had tears on in his eyes and said, I've made it, I have finally made it, now my dream can finally start. While Koby was talking, Luffy begins to climb the wall to see if he can see the Zoro and said, now where is this demon? The Marines wouldn't have him outside, they probably have him in the deepest holding cell they have, Koby said. Luffy jumps down and said as he goes left, I see someone, maybe it's the demon known as Zoro. So I am going to get a loser look. Then once Luffy is back on the wall he said, come on Koby, get up here and take a look. ASL Koby climbs the wall, he said, I am telling you Luffy, there is no way that it. Then he stops dead in his tracks as he sees a bloke wearing really dark green trousers and a bandana, a white shirt and a green haramaki, then said, I can't believe it, it's really him, it's Roronoa Zoro. So that's Zoro, Luffy said to himself, then turned to Koby and asked, he could just walk away if we untie the ropes. Are you nuts? There is no way, what a bandit like him would do if we did that. He might kill us, Koby shouted, then realized who he was talking to, then said to himself, oh yeah, he is. You worried too much, I can protect us, Luffy said. Yep, he is nut. I feel sorry for Makino and Yuki and all his future lovers as they had to deal with him, Koby think to himself, and unaware of what he just thought caused quite a few girls around the world to sneeze. Upon hearing some commotion, Zoro looked up to see Luffy and Koby, then said, "Hey you two," causing Koby to panic. Then Zoro said, "You're an eyesore, fuck off." Koby panicked, then goes over to Luffy and said, "Luffy, there is absolutely survive if you have people like him on your crew." Then a wooden ladder was put up right where he was, causing Koby to look over and sees a little girl about 6 or 7 years of age coming up the ladder. As she looks at the two teens, she dies the shushing motion, then looks around, then lowers some rope and climbs down, then runs over to Zoro. When Koby sees this, he says to Luffy, we have to do something Luffy, cause if we don't then she will be killed, but the Marines are by the demon himself. When the girl got to Zoro, the then late teen said, "What do you want?" "Thought you might be getting a bit hungry, do I made you some onigiri?" the girl replied. "Beat it kid unless you have a death wish," Zoro said. "But you haven't really had anything to eat since you got tied up," the girl, as she opens the warping, then offers them to Zoro with a, "Here, I think they turned out fine as I never really made them before." Zoro was a little surprised by what the then said, "Listen here kid, I'm not hungry, so get lost as you're annoying me." But, the little girl said, "I might not like to kick a kid's asses, but I will if I have to." Little girl, Zoro said. Unaware to the teen and kid, the gate opened up and 3 people walk in, 2 of which was Marines and the last was a boy that looked like he was a year or 2 older than Zoro, and he said, now no one like a bully, and when he got closer said, "Roranoa Zoro, you seem like you are handing this loke, it's a piece of pie." "It is," Zoro replied. Back with Koby and Luffy, the latter said, "Hey look at that weird guy, who do you think he is?" Koby said, "I don't know who he is, but he must be with the Marines. Now we know the girl is safe." As Luffy got a good look at the guy, he knew what type of guy he was and said, "I wouldn't be so sure about that Koby." "What do you mean?" Koby asked, looking at the Straw Hat Pirate. "Just watch," was all Luffy said. Back with Zoro and Ko, the guy said, "Looky here, I spy some tasty looking onigiri." Then he snatches one. "Hey, that's not for you," the girl said as the guy took a bite out of the onigiri. When the guy took the bite, he spits it out and said, "That way too sweet, you are meant to use salt, not sugar. What kind of idiot are you?" "But I thought it might taste better if they were sweet," the girl said. But the guy didn't listen and said, "Give me that," then whacks the other onigiri on the ground and stomps one it. "Hey, what are you doing? Stop," the girl said, trying to get the blonde-haired man to stop. Back with Luffy and Koby, the latter said, "Is this what you mean, Luffy? That's just awful. I know, and if Makino was here, she would be over there ready to give the guy a slap across the face, one for what he just did to the onigiri and another for trying to make the girl cry," Luffy said. Back with the girl, when the guy stopped, the girl said with tears in her eyes, "But I worked so hard to make those." "Well, that's too bad," the guy said. The goes to pull something out while saying, "I guess you haven't read the notice that's been posted." Then he reads the post, "Anyone caught assisting a criminal shall be executed," and it is signed by Captain Morgan, causing the girl to freeze in fear. The guy saw this and said with a little chuckle, "So even little brats fear my daddy." When the 2 teens hear this, Koby says, "So his father must be Marine Captain Morgan." The guy point to the Marine that was on his left side and said, "You toss the brat right this minute." But Marine was a bit hesitant, but the guy went up to the Marine and said, "I gave you an order, so throw her over the wall right now or I will go and tell my father." The Marine said in a panicked tone, "Yes sir, right away sir." Then goes over to the girl and said, "I am sorry little girl, but I must do as ordered, so here is some advice. Crawl up into a ball." Then picks her up, then throws her over the wall the same way she got in and over Luffy and Koby. As the girl screams, she tries to get into a ball, but how she was thrown made it difficult to do, but luckily Luffy jumped after her and grabs her, then said, "Don't worry girl, I've got you, but here's the plan. I am going to put you on my back and I want you to put your arm around my neck and keep them there." The girl quickly nodded, then Luffy puts her in his back and turned into his fox form and landed on all fours, then lays down to lets the girl climb off. The girl turns to face Luffy and said, "Thanks mister, but how did you turn into a big fox?" Before Luffy could answer, Koby came over and said, "Hey, are you two both okay?" Then goes over to the girl and examine her to make sure she was okay. Luffy turns back into a human and said, "Koby, take her home, I still want to speak to Zoro." Meanwhile, back with Zoro, the blonde guy was laughing and said, You're dead set on making it thought, aren't you? That's right, little man, I plan to make it though the month without trouble, Zoro said. Right, good luck with that, the guy said as he walks away while laughing. I don't need luck as I have 10 days left, Zoro said. That's assuming you make though these 10 days, the guy said. When the guy was gone, Zoro notices he was alone, looks over and see Luffy, then said, what are you still doing here? Luffy walks over and said, so you're Zoro, you don't look all that impressive, but I know that looks can be deceiving, but here is what I do know, if I was in your position I would have starved after 3 days. Yeah, well I have more spirit than you and that is how I am going to make it though this ordeal, Zoro said with a smirk, then said, this I swear. Well, when it comes to meals a lot of people have that over me, Luffy said, turns to walks out while saying, well I will come back and we can have a chat, I want to see if the girl is okay. As Luffy was walking away, Zoro said, wait, do you mind giving that to me, then uses his head to try and points to the smashed up onigiri. Are you really going to eat this? Luffy said, then shrugs his shoulders and said, well I did live in a jungle for 10 years so I can't say anything, then he puts it in Zoro's mouth. Once Zoro was finished he coughed a little and said, it was good, so tell that the girl that and also say that I am sorry for what I said. Will do, Luffy said as he walks away. After a few minutes Luffy found Koby and the little girl and, hey, how are you, girly? Don't call me that, my name is Rika, Rika said. Well, Rika, Zoro liked your onigiri and said that he was sorry about what he said, Luffy said. Really, he actually said that, Rika said, yes, and he even ate every single grain of rice, Luffy said. I'm glad that he liked it, Rika said. I wonder if Zoro is a bad and worthless as everyone says he is, Koby wonders out loud. He's not, Rika said, then went on to say, he's a good person because he's where he is because of us. You are going to have to tell us what happened, Rika, as you're making no sense after all. Both me and Koby got here today, Luffy said. Sorry, it's that Dumby known as Helmeppo, the guy that gave the order to have me thrown over the wall and is the son of Morgan, Rika said, then began to tell them 20 days ago Helmeppo was out walking his wolf when it burst into my mother's restaurant and terrorized our customers. So I tried to get it to go away, but when it went for me, Zoro throw a chair at it. Both Zoro and Helmeppo said a few things all the while eating his meal. When Helmeppo tried to attack Zoro, Helmeppo threatened me and my mother, then made a deal saying that if Zoro survives 1 month then Helmeppo will let the Zoro go as well as the me and my mother, and it's been 3 weeks since then and he is being unfair as he keeps on kicking and punching him while he is tied up and I have no idea on how to help him. Now I understand that you're upset, Koby said. Then all of a sudden, they heard a smash coming from the restaurant that Rika's mother owns, so they decide to see what was going on and saw that it was Helmeppo was making an order saying that the owner keeps the check and wondering what to do as he was bored while Luffy was walking and he see the girl from the day before and he hears Helmeppo say, well I suppose I could have Zoro executed, which got him a punched across the room from a pissed Luffy. As Helmeppo looks at Luffy he said, you just hit me. Luffy was about to hit Helmeppo, but Koby held Luffy while saying, Luffy, you can't hit him. Luffy still trying to hit Helmeppo, sure I can after all this guy is ass. You acutely hit me, Helmeppo said shocked. Yeah, and I will do as soon as Koby lets go, Luffy said. First I'm the Marine Captain Morgan's son, just so you know, Helmeppo said. And I don't give a fucking damn, Luffy said, still trying to give a hit the guy. You will care when he executes you for this, Helmeppo said. Like he could and just be a man and fight and not be a sissy and hide behind your father, Luffy said. Luffy calmed down a little. And why are you trying to get the Marine's bad side, Koby said as Helmeppo snack away. You forget, Koby, I am a pirate and I have made my decision, Luffy said. Then from the doorway came a voice that Luffy knew all too well, and what that be, Luffy? Luffy instantly calms down and look over to the door and see Makino and Yuki standing there, then said, our new crewmate. Makino give Luffy and pulls him his cheek even though it wouldn't affect him much and said, we can leave you alone, can we? Not my fault, the asshole deserved the beat down I was going to give him, Luffy said. Yuki walks up AEK and said, oh really, then tell us what he did. Koby said, I take it you're Makino and Yuki. Yuki lets go of Luffy's cheek, turns to Koby and said, yes, we are, and who are you? I am Koby and Luffy helped me out yesterday and what happened is this, Koby said, then tells them what had happened. I swear you can't stay out of trouble, can you? But you do always do want to help those in need, don't you? And that's why we love you, Makino said. Then Makino and Yuki give Luffy a kiss, then they make plans to help Zoro and try and persuade him to join Makino. Luffy and Yuki headed to the marine fort to free Zoro, and along the way Luffy turned to Makino and said, Makino, you know you don't have to come with us. Why is that? Makino asked. Well, simply put, I am worried cause you're not much of a fighter, Luffy said. Makino smiles and said, that's sweet of you, Luffy, but you need not to worry cause I ate a devil fruit yesterday, Makino said. Luffy was shocked to hear that Makino ate a devil fruit and said, but why did you do that knowing that you wouldn't be able to swim again? Because I would like to have your back in a fight, as I know you will always have ours, and I don't want to be one of the useless crew members who don't know how to fight, plus I have to be worthy of holding the title as first mate, Makino said. Don't really get it, but okay, Luffy said. Then he asked, so which devil fruit did you eat? Makino looked at Luffy with a mischievous smile and said, that's for me to know and you to find out. Luffy slumps down and pouts and said, oh come on, which got a laugh from Makino and Yuki. When the trio got to courtyard, they see Zoro remembering something, then he gasps then when he sees that he has company in the form of Luffy. Makino and Yuki then said, oh it's you again, don't you have anything better to do than to bug me? Not really, Luffy said, anyway I will untie you, but you have to join my crew. Makino whacks Luffy on his head and said, you can't force people to join our crew. Then she begins to grill Luffy. While Makino was grilling her captain, Zoro looks at Yuki and asked, what is that all about? Yuki looks over to Zoro and said, simply put, the three of us, points to herself, Makino and Luffy, are pirates, and the one getting a bollocking is Luffy, and he is our captain. The one doing the bollocking is Makino, and she is his first mate, and I name is Yuki, and I am a fighter. And what is going on is it would appear that Luffy wants you to join our crew. What, join a bunch of criminals? Like hell I will, Zoro said. Luffy walks over as Makino has stopped grilling him. Aid, and why don't you want be one? Because they are nothing but the lowest of the low, like I would ever become one, Zoro replied. Oh come on, everyone says that you're a demon in human form that is always out for blood, Luffy said. Like I care on what people say about me, I haven't done anything that I regret, Zoro said. Then with a determination on his face and held it in his voice, I will make it through this, then I will head out to accomplish what I set out to do. That's great and all, but I have already decided that you are joining my crew, Luffy said. What, you can't just decide that, Zoro shouted. Makino was pulling his ear and said, didn't I just finish grilling you about this? Come on Makino, let go of my ear, Luffy asked, and when she did, he turned to the swordman and said, I hear that you're the best swordman around. That's because I am, but that dumbass that's the captain's son took them away, Zoro said. Well, looks like I am going to have to get it for you, Luffy said before saying, so you have to join my crew if you want it back that much. You are starting to piss me off, Zoro said, but to his surprise Luffy just laughs and runs off, shocked by what's going on. Zoro said without thinking, hey, the base is the other way. Luffy stops, then he stretches out and said, gum gum rocket. Then he shots past them, shocking Zoro. In a state of shock, Zoro says to himself, what in the world is he? Makino heard the question and knew that by the look on the swordman's face that he wasn't asking anyone in particular, but she answered by saying, he is a dumbass that ate a fruit that many thought didn't exist. What is that supposed to mean? Zoro asked. You will find out if you join, so don't worry about Luffy, he might say it, but he doesn't mean it, Makino said. Yuki looks towards Makino and asks, so how long do you think it will be before Luffy causes trouble? Makino pretends to think before replying, considering this is Luffy we are talking about, I would say 5 to 10 minutes. So, I have been holding it in, but I am too curious, so I have to ask what's up with the furry female, Zoro asked. Makino and Yuki look at each other and the latter replied, I ate a devil fruit that gave me this anthroform. Oh, I slightly get it, Zoro said. Meanwhile Luffy was running in front of the base and said, that weird. There's nobody here and I need to know where that idiot is if I want to get Zoro's sword back to him. Then he looks up and sees something, then said, huh, what's that? Well, only one way to know. Then he stretches his arms and when they reach the roof he says, gum gum rocket. Then he flies up, but because of how high the building was he gained too much speed and zoomed past the roof, and as he did he said, whoops, that was too much power. Then he somehow sees rope and acting quickly he manages to grab it, and as he does he said, Woohoo, got it. But the sudden pull caused the Marines that was pulling the statue to lose their grip, and when the statue hit the edge of the roof it broke in two and the Marines was gobsmacked, and Luffy said, "I am so sorry about that." Then man with an axe as a hand who was the captain of the base shouted, "This in an order, I want you to seize him and hold him so I can kill him personally." "Yes sir," came the Marine's reply. Helmeppo then said, "That's him daddy, that the guy that punched me." Luffy got up in Helmeppo's face and said, "Hey, there you are," and Helmeppo screams and tries to run, but Luffy grabs him and continues, "I have been looking for you all over the place because you have something I need and would like you to hand it over." Then he runs into the base while carrying Helmeppo. So the Marine said, "No Helmeppo." The captain said, "Don't let that man escape, he needs to be punished." Before anyone could do anything, a Marine said, "Captain, there is someone in the crucifixion yard." The captain then said, "What was that?" Then he walks over to the edge of the roof and sees Koby running to where Roronoa Zoro was tied up. In the courtyard a few minutes earlier, Makino and Yuki just sighed when they heard the bang from the statue. Then the former said, "Well, there he goes causing trouble." "Well, we both know that he can't go very long without causing trouble," Yuki said. "Ain't that the truth?" Makino said. Then she saw Koby coming over and said, "Hey, isn't that the guy that was with Luffy?" Yuki looks over and then said, "Yes, it is. Wonder what he's doing here." Back inside the base, Luffy was running around dragging Helmeppo and he asks, "I really need you to tell me where you've got Zoro's sword." "Alright, I'll tell you, but can you please stop dragging me across the carpet?" Helmeppo said. Luffy stops and said, "Okay, now where is the sword?" "That are in my room, which we just passed it, just on the left," Helmeppo said as he points the way. "Oh come on, you should have said so sooner. Now we have go back that way," Luffy said. As Luffy turns he sees 3 Marines aiming guns at him. Then one of the Marines said, "Don't move unless it is to release Helmeppo." "Like hell I will," Luffy said. Then he holds up Helmeppo then says, "Though you can shoot me if you want." Helmeppo starts to scream and somehow says, "Don't shoot," and when Luffy started to run though them, Helmeppo said, "Move out he way and don't shoot." Meanwhile both Makino, Yuki and Zoro was shocked to see Koby trying to untie the tied-up swordsman, and Hunter said, "What the hell are you doing, kid? The captain of this base will kill you." Koby, who was still trying to untie the swordsman, said, "I am aware of that, but I don't care, but I can't stand what is happening at this base, but now I understand what Luffy means." Zoro looks at Koby confused then said, "What do you mean?" Makino took that moment to say, "I think I know what he is talking about," gaining Zoro's attention before saying, "You see, on Luffy there is a symbol on multiple parts on his body, and that symbol Rin kneels down and draws a symbol in the ground." He explains the meaning further in depth. After Makino finished explaining, Zoro said, "I think I get it now. Take pirates and Marines. Pirates are bad and Marines are good. But at the same time you can get good pirates as well as bad Marines." "Yes, that's right, Zoro," Yuki said. "Good to know," Zoro said, then turned to Koby and said, "That stuff aside, I can't leave, I still have 10 days. "That's not quite true, cause they're going to execute you tomorrow," Koby said, causing Zoro to look at the girls. When Makino saw that Zoro was looking at them to see whether or not it was true, she said, "Don't look at us." We got to the bar while Luffy was making a commotion, but judging how Luffy was acting it could be true. "Right, Helmeppo never planned on upholding his end of his deal," Koby said. Zoro was shocked by what he just heard and said, "He did that because someone wasn't going to uphold their end of a deal." "Well, that are Luffy for you," Makino said, "and now the Marines are mad, and they are dead set of catching Luffy," Koby said. "Yeah, we know, with all the commotion that going on in there. I am surprised you have heard us talking about it. After all, it started just after you arrived," Yuki said. Makino gave Yuki a light slap on her head and said, "Well, sorry, we don't have fox-like hearing." "Oh okay," Koby says while looking at Yuki, then turns to Zoro and said, "But no need to worry, I am not going to ask you to become a pirate, but I hope you help them." "What are you on about?" Zoro asked. "Well, you have a lot of strength you can offer them," Koby said, then quickly turns to face Makino and Yuki before saying, "Not that I'm doubting the strength that you two have or Luffy." Then turns to Zoro again before continuing, "But that are a crew of 3 at the moment, even they might not be able to beat an entire base of Marines." "None taken, Koby, but you're right, the 3 of us might not be able to beat an entire base of Marines. Maybe we can if we had 1 or 2 people that are fighters," Makino said. See, even Makino know that Luffy is the only one that can save you from getting executed, and you have the strength to save them from a similar fate, Koby said. Before anyone could say a thing, the captain showed up and said, "This is the end of the line for you traitors." "Oh, and how are we traitors after all? None of us work here?" Yuki asked. "Doesn't matter what I say, is the law as such for the crime agents. I sentence you all to death by gunshot," Morgan said. Meanwhile, inside the base, Luffy walks into a room and says as he looks round, "Now this room look like your room." Then he seed 3 swords, bingo, there it is. Once Luffy was where the sword were, he says, "One moment, there are 3 here." Then looks at Helmeppo and said, "Hey weirdo, which one is Zoro's?" But not no reply, then said, "Huh, guess he passed out." Then he drops him Helmeppo, and as he goes to pick up the swords he glances out the window and sees a squad of marines and armed and in positions to shoot Makino, Yuki, Zoro and Koby. Down in the courtyard, Morgan said, "You lot have been pulling a lot of interesting stuff around here. So I have to ask, is this some sort of poorly executed coup, or did you conspire with the kid in the straw hat?" Zoro was the first to speak up by saying, "I don't know what you are talking about, because unlike you who hides behind a wall of expendable cronies, I fight my own battle. We Roranoa Zoro, that is some strong word, and I hear that you are a strong fighter, but while under my care you are nothing more than a rat that we throw out with the garbage," Morgan said. Then he says, "All right men, take aim." Zoro looks down the barrel of the gun and think, "No, I can't die here, I still have to accomplish what I need to do," as a thought of a young girl goes through his mind. "Man, what do? I can't stop them cause the bullets will pass though me, so our only hope is that the devil fruit that Makino ate yesterday can help us." Yuki thinks, who was in fox form. "Fire," Morgan commands, and the men does as commanded, but Makino steps in front of the bullets with her arms stretched out, but to everyone's shock then bullets went through her but didn't penetrate the. After a few seconds the bullets was flung back and one of them just missed the captain's face. Luffy landed in front of Makino as if he was about to intercept something, but also had a shocked look, slowly turns to Makino and said, "So you ate the gum fruit?" "What the just who the hell are you people?" Zoro said. Luffy turns to Zoro and said, "I am Monkey D. Luffy, and I am going to be the king of the pirate, and this is my crew," and points to Makino and Yuki. Zoro looks at Luffy and said, "You have to joking, do you have any idea what means?" "Of course I do, king of the pirates means king of the pirates, what more can it mean?" Luffy replied. "I know it might seem like it, but he is really determined to become the pirate king and obtaining the world's ultimate treasure that is known as One Piece," Koby said. "You got that right, and the straw hat represents that goal as it was given to him by someone that inspired that goal," Makino said as she remembers the day Shanks gave Luffy the hat. "I understand having something as a memento of a goal," Zoro says as he eyes up the white sword that was strapped to Luffy's back while the girl was going through his mind. Luffy takes the swords of his back and says, "Here is what I promised, as you can see there is 3 and I didn't know which one was yours, so I took all 3 of them. All 3 are mine cause I use the style known as Santoryu," Zoro said. "Santo what now?" Luffy said, all confused. Zoro sighs and thinks to himself, "This guy is supposed to help me get out of here." Then goes on to say it also known as the 3 sword style. "Don't worry about it Luffy, all you need to know is that Zoro need 3 swords for his style," Makino said to Luffy, who is still confused. "Okay, so what it going to be, Zoro? Are you going to fight with me, which will make you an enemy of the government, or you can get killed off execution style?" Zoro looks at Luffy and said, "What are you, the son of the devil? After all, if I don't choose your side then I am dead on these sticks." "Alright, you are joining my crew, this is one of the best thing ever," Luffy said, all exited, causing Makino and Yuki to giggle a little at how excitable Luffy can get. "Alright already, now get these ropes of me already," Zoro yelled, trying to get Luffy's attention. Then the pirate captain gave Koby the swords, starts to untie the swordman. Meanwhile Morgan had just finished talking the devil's fruits. He said, "Alright, if shooting them don't work then we chop them." Then the marines draws their swords and charges. As the marine was charging, Makino says as she take one of Zoro's swords from Koby, "Move out the way Luffy, we don't have time for this," then slices the ropes. With blinding speed Zoro has all 3 swords and blocked the marines, and then says to the marines, "You move you die." Then looks at Luffy and says, "Now that I have fought the marines I am now a criminal, so I might as well become a pirate, but you should know this, that while I am with you the only thing I will dedicate is to get stronger so I can achieve what I want to achieve." And what do you want to achieve? Luffy asked. To become the best swordsman the world has ever known, Zoro replied. Sounds good to me. After all, the king of the pirates wouldn't expect anything but the best, Luffy said. So, if I have to give that up, then you must accept responsibility for it and have to apologize for it. You got that? Zoro said. Yeah, I got it, Luffy replied. Good, so from this point on, whether I am a criminal or not, I will spread the man Zoro around the world, Zoro said. Not like that. The main line wasn't moving. The captain shouted, what the hell are you lot doing standing there frozen? And after I gave the order to kill all 5 of them, causing the marine to jump in fright. Not like how this man was treating his men. Now of this asshole, so I am going to use one of your moves. Okay, Luffy. Not really caring whether or not Makino uses his moves or not, Luffy said, fine by me. Thanks, Luffy, Makino said, then turns to Zoro, then said, Zoro, it would be a good idea to duck. Then she bring up her right leg and said as she does a roundhouse kick and stretches, gum whip, and kicks all the marines back. Okay, mind telling me what you are? Zoro asked as he was getting up. Makino, who was flexing her leg, and says, we are just 3 people that ate a devil fruit. What a devil fruit? Zoro asked. Looks like she does have a devil fruit powers, and judging by what just happened I would say that she is a rubber person, Morgan said. Captain, we don't stand a chance against them because we couldn't beat Zoro, and we know he doesn't have any powers, and we have no idea what the Straw Hat is capable of, a marine said, and many other agreed. Morgan, who was mad, said, this a direct order. Everyone that just showed cowardice, I want you to pull your gun and shot yourself. I will not have weaklings here. Luffy just started to run over, and Koby was saying, Luffy, do us all of this island a favor and bring the marines crumbling down. Luffy goes to punch Morgan but hits his axe hand, and the captain said, you pathetic low-ranking insects, how dare you challenge my superiority? Oh, I am Marine Captain Axe Hand Morgan. Not impressed, Luffy said, nice to meet you, name Luffy, and I am going to kick your ass. The captain then swing his axe hand, and on the second or third he sings it down and make a small fissure. Then Luffy slams both of feet on Morgan's face, sending him flying, and before the captain could get up, Luffy had grabbed him by his shirt and starts to punch him while saying, you call yourself a marine, but you just made my point to my friend. At some point though, the interaction, Helmeppo showed up with a gun and hold it to Koby's head, says, hey Stewhat, stop and see what if got, causing Luffy to stop, and when Helmeppo see that Luffy had stopped, she said, now if you value your scrawny friend here, then you wouldn't move an inch, which Luffy just give a big smile. Koby, who is scared out of his mind, saw Luffy's smile, which forces Koby to find his resolve to do anything to try and accomplish his dream, says, Luffy, listen to me, I don't want Yo to stop until you have beaten this base and turned it into a marine base that it should be, even if I have to die in the progress. Okay, I can do that, Luffy said. The turns to Helmeppo and said, you hear that your hostage is afraid I die for what he think is the right thing to do, then a gun with his hand, and said, now you have to ask yourself, do I feel lucky? Can I pull my trigger before he does? Now let's start the show. As Luffy and Helmeppo was standing off, what no one noticed was Yuki was in her fox form and was sneaking behind Helmeppo. Then the late teen said, go on daddy, hurry up, you have the change to kill him. Then was bitten by Yuki, dropping the gun. Morgan, who had got up behind Luffy, said, this is the end for you, as I fearless axe hand Morgan, unaware that Zoro had put a sword in his mouth. Luffy gathers some Yami powers in his finger, then said, darkness bullet, then sent a small projectile to Helmeppo just as Morgan was bringing down his axe hand, but he never got to hit the straw hat wearing teen as Zoro had attacked the marine captain, and as Morgan was collapsing, Luffy said, thanks for that. Zoro said with his sword still in his mouth, no problem, just doing my job, captain, and Luffy just smiles in return. With the marine they were all shocked, but what just happened on said, I don't believe it, Captain Morgan has been defeated. As the pirates was gathering, they were looking around, and Zoro, believing there was someone wanted to attack them for what they did to their captain, said, alright, listen up, if there anyone here what wants to try and get revenge, then try it now. The marines looked at each other, and what happened they did next shocked the pirates, caused the marines throw their hats and weapons up in the air and cheered, and someone said, yes, we are finally free, Morgan's reign of terror if over. Well, that was unexpected, they seemed happy that their captain was beaten, Luffy said. Maybe they were afraid of him for a long time, Luffy, Koby said. Zoro suddenly collapses and Makino said, what the matter, Zoro? Zoro looks at his second in command and said in a weak voice, not much, just super hungry. After a couple of hours, Luffy, Makino, Yuki, Zoro and Koby was in the restaurant that Rika's mother owned, and Zoro said, "I am stuffed." That really hit the spot, especially after 3 weeks I was ready to gnaw my bootstraps. "Are you really? Don't you're a lightweight," Luffy said as he continues to eat something. "What I want know is that how you are still eating when I haven't eaten something in weeks," Zoro asks. "I guess it's that good, right, Makino," Luffy said. "I guess," Makino said, then turns to Zoro and said, "Zoro, don't mind what Luffy said, it's just that his and my devil turns our bodies to rubber, and if you don't have control hit he does, then you can eat a lot more than the normal person." Then turns to Ririka, Rika's mother, and said, "Thank you for doing this, Ririka. Think nothing of it, after all you lot saved us by freeing us from the tyranny that was known as Marine Captain Axe Hand Morgan." Rika, who was standing next to Luffy, said, "You're the most amazing man I have ever met." Luffy looks at the girl and said, "Yeah, I know I am amazing. And I will be more amazing once I have obtained the legendary treasure that is known as One Piece and become king of the pirates, oh yeah, and the best crew around." "Speaking of which, how many others have you collected for your crew besides the 3 of us?" Zoro said. Luffy looks at Zoro and the latter said, "You told me that you are in the middle of building a crew, so who else is on your crew?" "Nope, so far it's just the 4 of us," Luffy said. "So, the 4 of us amounts to an entire crew," Zoro said. "I am afraid so at the moment, Zoro, but you have to know that all crews start out small," Makino said. Zoro thought about it, then said, "I suppose you're right about that, but please tell me that you have a ship." "Sure, do, it's right there," Luffy said, then points to a small boat that was at the docks, and it was the only boat there. Zoro, who was looking out the window, said, "You have to be kidding me." "Nope, but don't worry, we'll have an enamours one before long," Luffy said. Zoro laughs and said, "Really, and how do you figure that out?" "It will have a big pirate flag on top," Luffy said as he took another bit out of something while thinking about the ship, then he said, "And I can't wait for it." Koby laughed a little, then said, "I think Luffy was born without the ability to think thing though, like the rest." "Well, you are half right, Koby," Makino said. Koby looks toward Makino and says, "What do you mean, Makino?" "Well, he has never had the brain power to make plans, but then there is the fact that his grandfather used to take him to dangerous places to train him, and I think he hit his head hard at these places," Makino replied. "I seriously can't believe I got tricked into having someone like him as my captain," Zoro said, which caused Koby to laugh, which got Zoro to say, "And what is so funny?" Koby somehow stopped laughing long enough to say, "If it makes you feel better, then there are several women out there that have to put up with him more than you." Zoro gains a confused look and said, "What are you talking about?" Yuki knows what the young boy was talking about, turned to Zoro and said, "We will tell you once we leave." Rika looks at Luffy and said, "Luffy, what will you and your crew be doing once you leave here?" "Well, I thought that much was obvious, we will be going straight to the Grand Line," Luffy replied. Koby, who was having a drink at the moment, spit it out and said, "Have you completely lost your mind? There is no way that you are equipped to take the Grand Line 1 with only 4 members." "Well, I have heard of it thanks to travelers, but I never knew it was such a bad place." "It a lot worse than you may think, Rika," Koby says before going on to talk about the Red Line and a legend about a town that was said to be dead center on it, then the Grand Line, and how the only pirate king placed the treasure known as One Piece at said town. "And when Rika is in bed, I hear from passing customers that any that goes in there doesn't come out alive because it is a massive battlefield, some even calls it a pirate graveyard," Ririka said. Luffy, not fazed by what he just heard, said, "Well, that too bad, because that is where the One Piece is located, so that is where we are going." Zoro leans back on his chair and said, "Well, then I guess we have to live with it." "What, you can't just agree to go straight to the Grand Line?" Koby said. "And why do you care where we go? You're not coming with us, are you?" Zoro asked. "Well, not really, but I still worry, and is it so wrong so care about my friends when they go to a place like the Grand Line? And I know that me and Luffy haven't known each other for years, but I still consider him my friends, and that make you 3 my friends as well, wouldn't you say?" Koby said. "Well, of course we are, even though we have to part, there is nothing stopping us from staying friends," Luffy said. Makino walks over to Koby and gives him a warm smile and says, "That's Luffy for you, he has always had the ability to make friends with anyone and gives them the confidence they need to go for their dream." Koby thinks back to when he met Luffy the day before, then realizes what she was talking about, then said, "That I am aware of." Makino nods and said, Good, and because of what Luffy just said you have me and Yuki as your friends, plus what makes you think that when we go to the Grand Line it will be still the four of us? What do you mean? Koby said. Well, even though Luffy said that we will be going to the Grand Line, but me and Yuki knows that Luffy has another ability which gets him caught up with something, and I know that at least one of those time we will gain another member, Makino said. That's right, Yuki shouted, realizing what Makino was talking about after all it just happened with the island and gaining Zoro as a crew member. Koby said, right, and I would like to thank you for what you and Luffy just said, cause as a kid I never had any friends, much less anyone that will fight for me, so I never really fought for anything, but thanks to you four I have gained something, and that is no matter how hard it gets, always fight to achieve your dream, otherwise when you die you will have regrets, so now I am going to fight with all my might to become a Marine. Then K about you little problem, Zoro said. What are you on about? Koby said. You spent 2 years with Iron Club Alvida, even though it was just a cabin boy. The Marines Information Network is one of the best and they will find out about it, and you will never get in, Zoro said. I never knew that, Koby said as he gains a downcast look. Just then the doors opened and the Marines walked in, and the one that is in charge said, hey you, we have heard a rumor that you are actually pirates. Is the rumor true? You get, and I just added my fourth member, Luffy said. Well, we appreciate what you did for the island by beating the tyrant that was terrorizing us for years, and now that we know that you are pirates we ask the Marines can let you do as you please, so instead of capturing you out, so of respect we are going to ask you to leave imminently and we will not report you to HQ. Upon hearing what the Marines said, the people weren't happy, but Luffy just smiled and said, that's fine, well looks like it's time to go. Then turns to Ririka and said, thanks for the great food lady. Then he and his crew got up. Rika asked, are you people leaving already? Yes. We are so keeping an eye in the papers, and you might hear some of the adventures we have been on, Luffy said as he walks to the exit. When the Marine saw that Koby wasn't moving, he said, what about you, aren't you a member of their crew? And when he got no reply said, well, are you or not? And he was unaware that Luffy had handed the bag he was carrying to Yuki. Then the Marine turned to Luffy, well, isn't he a part of your crew? Luffy ignores the question and said, I can tell you what he has been doing for the past 2 years. Koby turns to around shocked, unaware on what's going the Luffy mind, and thought, Luffy, you wouldn't tell them, would you? Then to horror Luffy tell them about his time with Alvida, and when Luffy was next to him having enough on what Luffy was saying, he punches Luffy. Getting the reaction he was getting, Luffy just smiled and said, you just made a dumb mistake. Then he begins to beat the Koby. As Luffy was beating Koby, Makino walks up to stop Luffy from going too far, then whispers in his ear so the Marines don't hear, you better stop now Luffy, you have made your point. Luffy stopped to see Koby falls to the ground and the Marine to say, get out of here now, we don't want you pirates destroying this place, it's obviously you're not crewmates, to stop beating the poor kid and get out of here now. As Luffy and his was leaving, Koby realized what just happened, and though, you mean to tell me that Luffy said those things just to get that kind of reaction out of me, just to say that we weren't crewmates even at the end of our journey together, he helped me out. Then he get up and said, sir, permission to join the Marines, no matter what it is I will do it. As the Marine was thinking about it, another one walks up and said, sir, I can't say I trust, as there have been cases where Marines have actually been pirates. I suggest we do a background check first. Koby then said, no matter what happens I will become a Marine. The lieutenant walks past Koby and says, I can't tell you how many Marines have been killed by pirates over the years, and this is a big step you are about to take, and with that being said, your permission to join has been granted. Koby turns around, salutes and says, sir, thank you sir. Down at the dock the crew was walking down to their boats and Zoro said, that was good acting you did back there, I wouldn't be surprised if the Marines also caught on. Be as it may, it should help Koby get into the Marines, Luffy said. And thanks to that we are leaving this place in a very pirate-like manner, as the town now hates us, Yuki said in her fox form. Makino looks around and said, I wouldn't be so sure about that. Before anyone could say anything, they heard someone shout, Luffy. Then the 3 other members turned to see Koby and about half of the townspeople at the docks, and Koby saluted and said, thank you Luffy, you have done more for me than I can ever thank you for. Zoro chuckled a little and said, well, that one for the history book, a Marine thinking a pirate. As the pirate crew sailed off, Luffy shouted, if you want to thank me then become a great Marine, then come after me to try and capture me if I have been caught by then. Luffy, you really think I can be that great? Koby said to himself. Next to him Rico was waving while shouting, "Come back and visit someday." Then the Marines somehow got past the townspeople and the lieutenant said, "All right men, we are about to do something that is against Marine law and will require a punishment, and that will be 3 days without food. Do you understood?" "Sir, yes sir," the Marine replied. "Okay, then all hands salute," the lieutenant ordered. Then all the Marines saluted the small crew of pirates, then said to Koby, "You have a great friend there." Koby looks to the Marine lieutenant and said, "I know that, and he thinks I can become a great Marine, one that is capable of capturing him." Then he made a vow to himself, "I know that we will meet again one day, and on that day I will be a Marine and you will have a huge bounty on you and I will bring you in." On the boats Luffy said, "Now on to our next adventure. And I get the feel that all our adventures will be just as exciting if not more so than this one," Zoro said. Makino and Yuki looks at each other then laughed a little. Then the former said, "Well Zoro, you have no idea what sort of trouble Luffy will get us into." As the pirate crew drifted around, Luffy asked Zoro, "Hey Zoro, is your dream, is it to become the greatest bounty hunter as well as being the best swordsman?" "So, what with the sudden question?" Zoro asked. "Not much. You know what my dream is, to become the king of the pirates, and Makino's and Yuki's the same dream, which is to be one of the girls that I intend marry someday, which will not happen until I meet someone special and marry her." Zoro was intrigued by what the captain just said, then said to Makino and Yuki, "And you two are okay with that?" "Yes, we are, and I have known who and what Luffy is capable of for 10 years and told Yuki when she began to develop feeling for Luffy," Makino said. "Okay, so who is it that you are looking for?" Luffy just shrugged and said, "No clue, but I've been told that she is a mermaid and that she is royalty and that she will be the first one I need to marry or anything else before anyone else." "And who told you that?" Zoro asked. "The Sea Kings," Luffy replied nonchalantly, shocking the swordsman. "That's a good one, but everyone knows that the Sea Kings are mindless monsters," Zoro said. Makino spoke up by saying, "Actually Zoro, there are only 2 people that actually command the Sea Kings, and they are Poseidon and Joyboy. Now Poseidon is always a royal mermaid princess, whereas Joyboy could be any male, and right now Luffy is Joyboy, and until he has had sex with Poseidon, something in his mind will stop him from fucking me and Yuki and any other girls that joins before Poseidon." And when she was finished, she and Yuki had a small blush. "And how do you know that?" Zoro said. "Because I have an ability that the Sea Kings call the Ears of Sand, but unlike Luffy and Poseidon, the ability comes and goes, and luckily when a Sea King that lives near the island that we come from was teaching Luffy how to use his abilities and what responsibilities that comes from being Joyboy, and he always made sure that I had the ability before talking to Luffy just to make sure he understood," Makino explained. "Now I slightly get it," Zoro said. "So back to my question," Luffy said. "It's nothing like that. I left my village to find someone, but I couldn't get back and I had to do something to eat," Zoro said. "Oh, so you're just lost," Luffy said, getting a laugh from Makino and Yuki. "Hey, don't put it like that," Zoro said as he slammed his foot on the boat, causing the boat to rock and Luffy's hat come off his head and float away. Realizing WH said, "Oh no, not my hat," then both he and Zoro followed it. Zoro manages to catch the hat and hands it back to Luffy and said, "Here you Luffy." "Thanks for that Zoro," Luffy said. "No problem, but name, am I hungry?" Zoro said. "Hey look, a bird," Yuki said. "I know, let's eat it," Luffy said. "Good idea, but how are we going to get it?" Zoro said. "Like this," Luffy said, then stretches out and grabs the top of the mast that said, "Gum Gum Rocket," then took off to get the bird. "Well, that makes sense," Zoro said. The moment Luffy was by the bird caught him in his beak then began to fly off. When Makino and the rest of the crew saw this, Makino said, "Well Zoro, are you ready? You the next adventure?" Then passed an oar to Yuki and Zoro, then as fast as that could rowed towards where the bird was going. After a little while of rowing, Makino saw 3 people what was shipwrecked, and one of them said, "Help us." Makino sighs and mumbles to herself, "That just great to find a couple of people that are shipwrecked," then shouted, "Sorry, but we are in a rush, so jump in if you can climb in." "What?" they shouted, but somehow manages to get in. Zoro said, "I am surprised you 3 got on board. Are you trying to kill us?" the trio shouted. Then one of them said, "Well, no matter, cause we are taking over the boat as we are members of Buggy the Clown's pirate crew." Not liking what was just said, Makino said, "I don't have time for this Zoro." Knowing better than to cross a woman that is worried about their partner, Zoro quickly said, "On it." After a quick beating, the members from Buggy's crew was now rowing the boat, and one said, We are sorry, we had no idea that the pirate hunter Zoro was on this boat, so can you please forgive us? Makino was annoyed because thanks to the 3 buggy pirates they had lost sight of Luffy and said, just keep rowing, as thanks to you 3 we lost sight of our captain, so if you know what good for you just keep rowing. Then turns to her crew. So, what now? Zoro said. Well, we keep to the cause we know where the bird went and hope that Luffy is on the first sign of land we see. Makino said, now let's start the show. As the 3 members of Luffy's crew was annoyed that they had lost their captain, though was chatting amongst themselves when one of the pirates that was rowing the boat asked, so what do we do now? I have no idea, because as soon as Captain Buggy finds out that the treasure we had was stolen by a girl we will be history, one replied. You know it, the last one stated with a sigh. Huh, so who is this Buggy person you are talking about? Zoro asked. The 3 buggy pirates look at Luffy's crew and see that they all had confused look. Then the second buggy pirate said, wait, you mean to tell us that you don't know who Buggy the clown? Nope, Zoro replied. Can't say I have, Makino said. Yuki nods and point at Makino and says, what she said is I grew up on the island that she and Luffy are from. Buggy the clown is the captain of the crew that we are a part of and a truly terrifying man that has eaten one the devil fruits. I see, well then keep rowing, Makino said, demanded. After a while a big shadow of a sea king swam under the boat, rocking it a bit, which no one noticed. Then it emerged, causing everyone the buggy pirates to go into a panic, while Zoro took 2 of his swords out and ready to attack when needed, and Makino and Yuki looked at each other with a worried look and they both thought, what are we going to do, because without Luffy here to talk to them the sea kings might attack us. The sea king went to attack, then it stopped dead as it felt something. Then it looked at the 6 people. Then said, tell me, can any of you understand me? Shocking. Makino stepped forward and nods, then point to herself and the fox. Then the sea king eyed them carefully and said, judging by how strong I sense Joy Boy on you, that tells me one of 2 things. The first one is that you must have eaten the fruit that is meant for him, or you are close to him, and if it's the second one then maybe you are one of the lucky that has gained the ability to speak to us. Shocking. Both female. Deciding to see if what the 2 females was true, Makino said, what are you talking about, and how is it possible, as I was told that one has to be born with the ability known as the ears of sand? You must have heard that from one of the younger sea kings that doesn't know the whole truth anyway. I am sure that you know about the 2 rulers that only we obey, the sea king said, which got a nod from Makino. Then he continued, well, unlike Neptune, Joy Boy is releasing an aura that affects those close to him, and some of them, depending on how much they are around him, few can gain the ears of sand ability, and even fewer was lucky enough to be able to speak to us. I see, Makino said, then gained a thoughtful look, then asked, what was that about the fruit that was meant for him? Well, to put it simply, some of the devil fruits are unique, the sea king said. Makino knew one such fruit, said, like the yami fruit. The sea king nodded his head and said, correct, the yami no mi doesn't give the user its normal elemental transformation but a black smoky form as well as the power to affect gravity, and there is another one. But it has 2 names if I remember right. In its dormant state it's classed as a paramecia, but once it awakens it become a zone. Okay, and what is the fruit, if I may ask? Makino asked. I see why not the name of the fruit, if anyone but Joy Boy. It is called the gum no mi, and if Joy Boy eats it and awakens it then its name is Hito no mi model Nika, the sea king replied. Makino's eyes went wide as it was the one that she had eaten, and her wide-eyed was only caught by her fellow crewmates. Then Makino asked, can the fruit awaken even if he hadn't eaten it? The sea king thought about it, then said, it might be possible, but I am not sure, only time will tell I suppose. Thank you for the telling me, and Yuki here, Makino said as she bowed, then said to herself, now to find Luffy. Well, the current incarnation of Joy Boy is that way, the sea king said as he turned his body to where Luffy is. Makino once again bowed and said, thank you for your help. It's no problem at all, though it would be best that you don't tell anyone what you have learned here about the fruits, as it will put your life in danger as well as Joy Boy, the sea king said before submerging again and swims off. Makino and Yuki look at each other as if to ask each other, and both nodded. Then Makino turned to the 3 buggy pirates, who was still in shock, and said, well, what are you 3 waiting for, get rowing. The 3 buggy pirates jump and said, yes ma'am, then quickly began to row again. Zoro releases his sword and says, okay, what was that about? We will tell you some of it later, But we can't tell you all as not everyone can know what the Sea Kings know, but it will come out in time, that much I am certain about, Makino replied. Fair enough, if you can't say that you can't, Zoro said as he sits back down. Then he asks, but mind telling me about that hat of his? There isn't much to tell, but that someone gave him that hat as a sign of a promise that Luffy said almost 10 years ago, Makino said. Do you think Luffy be fine? Zoro said. He will be okay. But he might get into some sort of trouble along the way and maybe get a new crew member once it is over, Makino said with a knowing smile while looking at Zoro. Zoro see the look and chuckles, then says, fair enough, as that is how he got me to Join. Meanwhile on the island that Makino and the other are heading to, 3 men was chasing the girl that, and one of them said, get back here girl with that map, as it belongs to us as we stole it first. Then all of a sudden there was an explosion causing everyone to stop and look up and saw a big head drop something. Then they heard someone yelling and it landed in the middle of the girl and the pirates, causing a dust cloud, and then the girl said, what was that just now? One of the pirates said, guys, I am not sure, but I think that was a guy fell just now. When the dust cleared it revealed Luffy without a starch on him, and he said, man, that was a fun ride, but at least I am safe now, but most importantly what just happened was awesome. The girl looks at Luffy and thinks, well, now him literally dropping in couldn't have happened at a better timing, then walks up to him. Luffy was looking down at his stomach, unaware that the girl was walking up to him, and he said, man, I am so hungry. When the girl was next to him, she, wow, thanks boss, you came here just to save me, you are the best. Luffy looks at the girl and said, who are you anyway, as I feel like I have seen you before. The girl knew what he was talking about but didn't say anything, so she just ran away and shouted, well boss, that are all yours, so have fun. Hey, that girl is getting away, one of the pirates said. It doesn't matter anymore, after all we have her boss now, the second pirate said. You made a terrible mistake, kid, stepping in for your crony when you could have left her top fend for herself, the last pirate said. Luffy turns to face the pirate and asks, hey, do any of you know if there is any decent place to eat around here, as I am hungry? You don't get it, do you, kid? As of this moment food is the last thing you should be worrying about, the pirate in the middle said. Then he punches Luffy's hat off. Luffy watches as his hat goes up, then he gains an angry look, then punches the pirate that punched his hat of sending him flying. Then he grabs his hat before it hits the ground, and as he puts it on, he says, you better not touch my hat. The other 2 pirates gain a look of shock, then shouted at Luffy, you bastard, now you are dead, then charges at Luffy. I don't think so, Luffy replied, then said, gum pistol, then extend his arms and punch the 2 pirates square on the face, then they both collapse. Meanwhile on a balcony a few houses away, the girl was shocked to see that the boy that she got involved to save her skin thought, wow, he beat them in no time at all, maybe if I can get and become his friend. Then she said, I have to say that was impressive, you beating those 2 barehanded while that had sabers. Luffy looks over to the balcony and says, hey, it's you, what's that big deal setting me up like that, and how are anyway? The name is Nami, and I am a talented thief that only steals from pirates, so how about you and I team up, the now identified girl said. Well, that's a nice offer lady, but I think I will give it a pass, Luffy said as he begins to walk away. Shocked that she was shot down just like that, Nami jumps off the balcony and says as she chases him, hey, wait a minute, could you at least think about it first? Suddenly Luffy's stomach growls and he says as he falls to his knees, oh right, I need to find something to eat. Well then why don't you join me, and I am sure that I can find you something to eat, Nami said. Luffy jumped up and said, wow, you really mean that? Nami didn't know what to say, so she said, yeah, I am. Then she thought, he may not be bright but he sure is cute. Meanwhile at another location inside a tent, a man with a big red nose asked, you came in here to tell me that no one has been able to the thief? Not yet, Captain Buggy, but I am positive that our men are in pursuit as we speak, one of Buggy's men replied. Okay, so can anyone tell me how this thief got in and take the chart? As you know, we are planning to enter the Grand Line and go on a rampage, so that means the chart is the key to it all, so why wasn't it properly guarded? Buggy asked. Well, you see sir, we don't know, so it was out as plain as day like your nose, the pirate replied. Buggy eyes narrowed at what he just heard and said, what did you just say? What I mean was that it was pretty easy for her to find and take it, the pirate said. Buggy then goes over to the pirate, said, bastard, what was that comment about my nose? Then he got into then man's face and said, "So is you trying to tell me that you find my nose funny? Is it that amusing? Well, do you?" The pirate then shakes his head his face as he can while he was sweating like a pig. Then he said, "No sir, I don't. You misunderstood what I meant." "Oh no, I haven't, as you was quite clear you find it funny," Buggy said. The pirate took a step back but tripped, but didn't waste any time getting up, so he scurried away, all the while said, "Please help me." Meanwhile, the other pirate that was on Buggy's crew was watching with a little scared look, and one of them said, "Well, this isn't good. He should have known not to mention the captain's nose like that." "Yeah, tell me about it, and he is about to use his devil fruit power," another one said. Buggy made a simple gesture and the pirate looked like something or someone was strangling him that was lifted of the ground. Then the captain said, "Now then, tell me, who in the world am I?" "Captain Buggy," the pirate replied, all the while struggling with something. "Good, now then tell me what happens when someone tries to deny me," Buggy asked. "They are killed by flashy death. Now can you forgive me?" the pirate said, still struggling. Buggy let the man go and said, "Fine, now quit you groveling. I will forgive you for your slip of the tongue this time, but I want you all to find that, so you better not fail or else." Back with Luffy and Nami, who are now in a house and food on the table, and once Luffy had eaten something he turned to Nami, who was sitting on the table, and asked, "So do you live in this big old house all on your own?" "I don't live on this island, but I am just staying here for the moment as Captain Buggy drove all the townspeople away," Nami replied. "So, you are just a petty thief then?" Luffy asked as he grabbed something else to eat. "That's not nice. I am more than just petty, as I only steal from people that truly deserve it, pirates, so there is no reason to compare me to some petty thief, you hear me?" Nami replied. Luffy finished what he was eating and said, "Well then, you must be a good thief then." "Well, I have a goal, and no matter how hard or how long it takes, I am going to achieve it," Nami said. "So, what is your goal?" Luffy asked. "To earn 100 million berry," Nami said. "That is a lot of money, so what do you need that for?" Luffy asked. "Well, now that is my little secret, and now with this chart of the Grand Line, that 100 million berry goal is finally within my grasp," Nami replied. Luffy then mumbled, "A chart of the Grand Line," then turns to Nami and asks, "So you must be a navigator?" Nami once again turns to face Luffy and said, "Got that right, as I am the most skilled one that you are ever going to meet." "Really, that is perfect," Luffy said as he stands up. Then he asks, "So then how about you join my crew, as I am looking for a navigator?" "Really, you mean it?" Nami asked. "Yeah, I mean it, so how about it be our newest crew member?" Luffy said, all excited. "No," Nami said with a bit of anger. Why not?" Luffy said, all dejected. "Because of what you have been saying makes me believe that you are a pirate," Nami said. "That's right, I am a good pirate, as I made a promise to the one that gave me this hat that one day I will become a pirate, form a great crew, and become the greatest one there was after the last pirate king," Luffy replied. "The one thing I despise more than anything, and that would be a pirate. There are only two things I like, and that is money and tangerines," Nami said as she slams her hand on the table. Come on, be our navigator," Luffy said. "I said no, and that is finally, now drop it. And one more thing, there is no such thing as a good pirate," Nami said as she goes over to the window. "Right, and there is no such thing as a bad marine anyway, you're loose," Luffy said as he sits down and starts eating again. Nami looks out the window and sees two of Buggy's men, then turns to Luffy and thinks, "Well, I might be able to use that cute dumbness agents him, as he wants me to join. Then I gave a backup plan if he doesn't play fair." Then she says, "Alright, I might consider joining your crew, but you have to help me with something first." Luffy looks at the girl and asked, "Really, you mean it? So what do I need to do?" "Well, you and I are going to pay Buggy the clown a visit first, but before we do that, we need to do one thing first," Nami said as she pulls out some rope and quickly ties him up. "Is there a reason why you tied me up?" Luffy asked as he wondered why. "Yes, it's just for show, as we need to get close to Buggy," Nami said. "Well then, let's go, as I am looking forward to meeting some other pirates," Luffy said as he walks up. "Wait, there is no need to rush, as he won't be leaving for a little while," Nami said as she walked behind him with the rope as if she was leading him somewhere.